Hello viewers, welcome back to the D6 pack. Today I'm going to be reviewing some different methods of storing your board games, sorting out the components and such. I know a lot of people still use the baggie method, which while it's useful for sorting things out, it can be a bit of a hassle when it comes to game setup. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition my camera and show you some of the different products and methods that I use to sort out my board games. Alright, so the first game I'm showing you here is Bora Bora, and this one's still in the process of being sorted out, so I'll explain some of that as we go here. I mentioned baggies earlier, and those do work fine for some things. In this case, I'm using it as a storage device for the player pieces. And in this game, you can pretty much just dump out everything that's in this bag onto your player board, and that's going to be the easiest way to set things up anyway. So for that, baggies work just fine. One of the things that I still intend to do with this game is I want to get cloth bags for the women tiles, the men tiles, and these goal tiles. At the beginning of the game, you have to set these up into stacks of 6 for each round. So having a bag will make it a lot easier. You can just draw out 6 rather than having to set those up at the beginning of each game. I think it'll make things a lot quicker, but that's something that I still intend to do. I also am using these dessert cups for resource storage. They have these lids so they store pretty well. The pieces don't get lost or anything. And you can just pop the lid off and set that out on the table and it's ready to go. So for that, these work pretty well. These are Diamond brand, but I'm sure they come in other brands as well. This is what I'm using. And I think this came in a pack of 50. So they're pretty inexpensive for how many you get. Some people might not like the look of these, so I have a couple other options I'll show you in another game here. And that's pretty much it for Bora Bora. So I'll pack that up and move on to the next game here. This is Evolution. And I've got a couple of different things in here. So this is actually Evolution plus the Flight expansion and the Climate conversion kit. So I've got deck boxes that sort everything out so that I can keep everything in one box. I've also got some of the promos in here. This is the scenario cards that came with the Climate conversion kit. And then for all of these boards, I have them wrapped up in, it's called Hugo's Amazing Tape. It is a reusable tape, so you can just wrap it around like normal tape and it'll stick together. But then when you want to use it, if I can find the end of it, there it is. So it just comes undone, and then you can wrap it back up using the exact same piece of tape. You just kind of stretch it and it sticks to itself. So that's Hugo's Amazing Tape. I find that works pretty well for big components that are like this that aren't gonna move around too much. That's pretty much it that I wanted to show you in this game. Then I will move on and show you how I'm storing my Scythe game. So Scythe is a big game with a lot of components. If you haven't played it, it's a lot of fun. I recommend it. So put that over here. So I mentioned that I had some other solutions to those plastic dessert cups. These are something that I found at the dollar store. They come in squares and rectangles, so whatever shape is your preference. I prefer the rectangles because I think they store better and they hold a little more than the circular ones do. But these look a little bit more classy than the dessert cups do, and I think they probably hold a little more too. So that is one solution. Or there are these tins that are typically used for like wedding favors. We got these at a hobby store. I think Michael's sells them. And they have this nice clear top, so it presents all your pieces very nicely. And this is going to be a little more expensive. I think you get 30 for 20 bucks. So out of the three options, this is going to be the higher end, but if you want the look, then that might be the way to go for you. And then I'm also using card boxes in this game a little unconventionally. So I showed you that I'm using all these for storage, and in this game using baggies would be a little bit messy looking still in the box. So I'm actually using these deck boxes to sort out all of the player pieces. So there's a lot of player pieces that are involved in this game, so they all fit nicely into one deck box, and it's a good way to keep things organized. I have them all color coded here too, so each faction has its own specific deck box, and they sort out into the box pretty well. And then all of the extra cards and stuff that come in the game are kept in orange because that's not a faction color. So that's how I'm storing Scythe. Of course, there are more high-end ways you can store things. One of the first games that I thought I needed to organize better was Caverna. This game has a ton of pieces, and playing a two-player game, this takes about an hour, but the setup alone was taking that long before I got an insert for it. So this is actually the broken token insert for this game, and it works pretty well. I'm not going to do a full review of this insert, but I will just say that I enjoy it a lot because it keeps everything together nicely, sorts out all of your resource pieces, and then you have all your tiles sorted underneath that. The player pieces are there, and it all just fits very nicely into the box. And all of the boards just go on top of the resource tray so that nothing is like moving around while you're storing the game. And it fits tightly, so none of the boards are going to come up or anything like that. However, I know some people aren't willing to pay the money for an insert like this, so there is always the option of making your own insert. Or there's some games like Happy Pigs, which there are no inserts available for. For me, this game had so many pieces because we wanted to have all of the different animals stored in the box to a sufficient capacity where each player could use as many of whatever type of animal they wanted. So we have the duck and penguin promos, as well as the pigs that came with the game, and then the chickens, cows, and sheep came with the Farm Friends expansion. So in this case, I made my own insert out of foam core, which keeps all of the animals in their trays. For some of them, I doubled up. This is the sheep and the ducks, but underneath here, this is all just penguins. So it keeps everything organized well. And I made a separate tray for coins. The 5s and 10s go there. The 1s go in with the smaller resources in a separate tray. And then all of the terrain tiles go in just loose in the box pretty much. So that's the first foam core that I made. I think it came out pretty well, and it organizes the game pretty nicely. It wasn't the easiest thing to make, but if you really want to keep your game sorted nicely, I'd say it's worth it. So I intend to do a video of creating one of these at some point to show you how put these together. I actually just got the expansion for Steam Park, so that's probably one that I'll be working on soon. But for now, this one is the only form coder that I've made, so that is it. So alright, so that was some of my recommendations on how to store your game in a way that's going to speed up game setup and keep things organized nicely while still fitting into the original box. So this isn't an exhaustive list. I know some people use like fishing tackle boxes to organize their game pieces. I personally don't like that because it doesn't fit the pieces the way that I intend for them to. Sometimes you can find forums that will list off products that fit those pieces pretty closely, and if you want to go through and do that, that's fine. That's just not how I like to store my games. I'm sure that some of our listeners or viewers also have some recommendations on ways to store your games, and I encourage you to please put those in the comments. We love to hear from you guys. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and that's it for now. We are going to Dice Tower Con, at least I am. Travis and Todd won't be there, unfortunately, but if you are going, please shoot us a message, and maybe we can meet up at the con. See you guys later. Bye.